Imagine you are standing at the beginning of your programming journey. You open YouTube, search best programming language for beginners, and suddenly you see two names everywhere: Python and JavaScript. One person says Python is the easiest language in the world. Another says JavaScript is the most powerful language because it runs the internet. Then someone else tells you to learn both. At that moment, confusion starts. Which language should you learn first? Which one is easier? Which one gives jobs faster? Which one helps you build real projects quickly? In this video, we're going to compare Python and JavaScript deeply, but in very simple words, so that even a complete beginner can understand everything clearly. By the end, you will know exactly which language matches your goals, your learning style, and your future plans. Let us start from the beginning. Python and JavaScript are both programming languages. A programming language is simply a way to give instructions to a computer. Just like humans use English or Urdu to communicate with each other, programmers use coding languages to communicate with computers. But every language has its own style, strengths, weaknesses, and purpose. Python was created to be simple and readable. Its creator, Guido van Rossum, wanted a language that looked clean and easy to understand. That is why Python code often looks almost like normal English sentences. JavaScript, on the other hand, was created mainly for websites. It was designed to make web pages interactive. Today, JavaScript has become one of the most powerful languages in the world because it can now build websites, mobile apps, desktop apps, games, and even servers. Before comparing them deeply, let us first understand how they feel for beginners. Imagine you're learning to drive. Python is like learning on a smooth automatic car. The controls are simple, the road feels comfortable, and you can focus on understanding the basics of driving. JavaScript is more like learning on a manual car in a busy city. It gives you more control and more possibilities, but at first it can feel slightly more confusing because there are more things happening at once. This does not mean JavaScript is bad. It simply means the learning experience is different. One of the biggest reasons beginners love Python is readability. Look at this simple example. In Python, if you want the computer to print a sentence, you write print hello world. That is it. Very clean and easy. In JavaScript, you write console.log hello world. This is also simple, but you can already notice extra symbols like semicolons and dots. For experienced programmers, this is normal. But for complete beginners, Python usually feels less intimidating. Another important difference is syntax. Syntax means the rules of writing code. Python has fewer complicated symbols, which makes beginners focus more on logic rather than memorizing rules. JavaScript syntax is not extremely difficult, but it has more brackets, semicolons, and concepts that can confuse new learners in the beginning. Let's talk about learning speed. If your goal is to start coding quickly and understand programming concepts fast, Python often wins. Many students write their first useful Python programs within days. You can create calculators, automation scripts, small games, and data projects very quickly. Python allows beginners to see results fast, and this keeps motivation high. JavaScript can also give quick results, especially in web development. The exciting thing about JavaScript is that you can open a browser and instantly see your code working on a web page. You can create buttons, animations, pop-ups, and interactive designs very early in your learning journey. This visual feedback makes JavaScript extremely fun for creative people. Now, let us discuss popularity. Both languages are massively popular, but they dominate different areas. Python is extremely popular in data science, artificial intelligence, machine learning, automation, cybersecurity, and education. JavaScript dominates web development. Almost every modern website uses JavaScript in some way. When you click a button on a website and something changes instantly without refreshing the page, JavaScript is probably working behind the scenes. Let us compare their beginner friendliness more deeply. Python is often recommended in schools and universities because it removes many beginner frustrations. Students can focus on problem solving instead of fighting syntax errors. This is very important because most beginners quit programming not because coding is impossible, but because they become frustrated by tiny mistakes. Python reduces that frustration. JavaScript has a slightly steeper beginning, but it teaches you web thinking very early. Since websites are everywhere, learning JavaScript can feel exciting because you immediately understand how modern apps work. Another important topic is setup. Python requires installing Python on your computer and choosing an editor to write code. This is not difficult, but it is still an extra step. JavaScript already exists inside web browsers. You can literally open your browser, press Inspect, go to the console, and start writing JavaScript immediately. This convenience is one reason why JavaScript became so widespread. Now, let us talk about career opportunities. Many people ask, which language gives jobs faster? The answer depends on the field you want to enter. If you want to become a web developer, JavaScript is almost unavoidable. Front-end developers use JavaScript daily. Back-end developers also use JavaScript with Node.js. Full-stack developers often rely heavily on JavaScript. In the web world, JavaScript is king. But if you're interested in artificial intelligence, data analysis, machine learning, automation, or scientific computing, Python is usually the better choice. Most AI tools and machine learning libraries are built around Python because it is easy to write and works well with data. Let's discuss salaries. Both Python and JavaScript developers can earn excellent money. What matters more is your skill level and project experience. A strong JavaScript developer can earn very high salaries because businesses constantly need websites and web applications. A strong Python developer can also earn high salaries, especially in AI and data science fields, which are growing rapidly worldwide. Another beginner question is about difficulty. Which language is harder? Most people agree Python is easier at the start. However, easy does not mean weak. Python powers huge companies, AI systems, automation tools, and scientific research. JavaScript is slightly harder in the beginning because of concepts like asynchronous programming, callbacks, and different behaviors that sometimes confuse beginners. But once you become comfortable, JavaScript becomes extremely powerful and flexible. Let's also compare communities. Both languages have giant communities. This means if you face a problem, you can search online and find thousands of tutorials, videos, articles, and solutions. Python has a very beginner-friendly community because many teachers and educators use it. JavaScript also has a huge community, especially among web developers and startup creators. There is another important difference between them. Python is often used behind the scenes. For example, data processing, automation scripts, AI models, and server tasks. JavaScript is often directly connected to user interaction because it controls what people see and click on websites. If you enjoy creating visual experiences, JavaScript may feel more exciting. If you enjoy logic, automation, and problem-solving, Python may feel more natural. Let's imagine two beginners. The first beginner wants to create AI tools, automate boring tasks, analyze data, and learn programming smoothly. Python would probably be the perfect starting point. The second beginner dreams of building websites, interactive apps, online businesses, and beautiful user interfaces. JavaScript would likely be the smarter choice. But here is something very important. Learning one language makes learning the second language much easier later. Programming concepts overlap. Variables, loops, functions, conditions, and logic exist in both languages. Once your brain learns programming thinking, switching languages becomes far easier than starting from zero. Many professional developers actually know both Python and JavaScript because together they cover a huge part of the technology world. Some developers use Python for back-end processing and JavaScript for front-end interfaces. So this is not really a war where one language destroys the other. It is more about choosing the best starting point for your personal goals. Now that you understand the basic difference between Python and JavaScript, it is time to go deeper into the real world. Many beginners make the mistake of choosing a language only because someone online said it was the best. But the truth is that every language is designed for certain types of work. The smarter question is not which language is better. The smarter question is which language is better for the kind of things I want to build. In this part, we will compare Python and JavaScript in real-world projects, industries, career paths, and practical uses, so you can clearly understand where each language becomes powerful. Let us begin with web development, because this is where JavaScript dominates the world. Every modern website you visit probably uses JavaScript. Think about YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Netflix, Amazon, or Google Maps. Whenever a web page updates without refreshing, whenever you click a button and something instantly changes, whenever animations move smoothly, JavaScript is working behind the scenes. JavaScript is the language of the browser. Browsers like Chrome, Firefox, and Edge understand JavaScript directly. This gives JavaScript a massive advantage in front-end development. Front-end development means building the visible part of websites that users interact with. If you dream of creating beautiful websites, interactive dashboards, online stores, social media platforms, or web apps, JavaScript becomes extremely important. Modern front-end frameworks like React, Vue, and Angular are all based on JavaScript. React alone powers countless professional websites and is one of the most demanded skills in the tech industry. Now let us compare this with Python and web development. Python can also build websites, but it usually works more on the backend side. Backend means the hidden logic running behind websites. For example, storing user data, processing payments, managing accounts, and handling databases. Python frameworks like Django and Flask are very popular for backend development because they are clean, organized, and powerful. Large platforms like Instagram and Spotify use Python in different ways. So Python is not weak in web development, but JavaScript has one special advantage. It can handle both front-end and back-end using the same language. With Node.js, JavaScript moved beyond browsers and entered servers. This means developers can use JavaScript everywhere. This created the idea of a full-stack JavaScript developer, someone who builds both the front-end and back-end using one language. For many companies, this is efficient because developers can work across the whole application without switching languages. That is one reason JavaScript jobs are everywhere. Now let us move to artificial intelligence and machine learning because this is where Python becomes extremely powerful. If you hear about AI chatbots, image recognition, recommendation systems, self-driving cars, or data prediction, Python is usually involved somewhere. Python became the favorite language for AI because of its simplicity and its massive collection of libraries. Libraries are pre-built tools that save developers huge amounts of time. In Python, libraries like TensorFlow, PyTorch, scikit-learn, and Pandas make machine learning and data science much easier. Imagine trying to build a house completely from raw materials. It would take forever. Libraries are like already prepared building blocks that speed everything up. This is one reason Python became dominant in scientific and AI fields. Universities, researchers, and tech companies heavily rely on Python because it allows them to focus on solving problems rather than fighting complicated syntax. JavaScript can also work with AI, but it is not usually the first choice for heavy machine learning projects. There are JavaScript AI libraries, and browser-based AI is growing, but Python still leads strongly in this area. So if your dream is to work in artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science, automation, or research, Python usually gives you a stronger starting path. Now let us talk about automation because this is one of Python's hidden superpowers. Imagine you have a repetitive task on your computer, maybe renaming thousands of files, sending automatic emails, collecting website data, generating reports, or organizing folders. Python is amazing for automation. Many businesses use Python scripts to save hours of manual work every day. This is one reason Python is loved by beginners and professionals alike. You can create useful tools very quickly, even with basic knowledge. JavaScript can automate tasks too, especially web-related tasks, but Python is often considered more comfortable and cleaner for general automation work. Another major area is mobile app development. JavaScript has a strong advantage here because of frameworks like React Native. React Native allows developers to create mobile apps for Android and iPhone using JavaScript. Companies like Facebook invested heavily in this technology. This means JavaScript developers can move into mobile development without learning completely new systems. Python can also build mobile apps, but it is not the most common choice in the mobile industry. Let us discuss game development. Python is often used by beginners to learn game programming because it is easy to read and understand. Libraries like Pygame help beginners create simple games quickly. JavaScript is also popular for browser games because it runs directly in web browsers. If you have ever played a small online game on a website, JavaScript probably helped make it possible. Professional game studios often use specialized engines and languages, but for beginners, both Python and JavaScript can be fun starting points for game projects. Now, let us compare performance. JavaScript is generally faster for web interactions because modern browsers are highly optimized for it. JavaScript engines became incredibly powerful over the years. Python is usually slower in raw execution speed, but its simplicity and productivity often make development faster for humans. This is important to understand. Sometimes a language that is slower for computers is faster for developers because writing and maintaining the code is easier. Businesses often care more about developer productivity than tiny speed differences, especially in startups and fast-moving projects. Another important topic is job market demand. JavaScript jobs are extremely common because every business today wants websites and online services. From startups to giant corporations, web developers are constantly needed. Front-end, back-end, and full-stack JavaScript roles exist everywhere. Python jobs are also growing rapidly, especially in AI, data analysis, cybersecurity, and automation. In recent years, Python became one of the most taught and requested languages worldwide. So both languages have strong job opportunities, but the type of work differs. JavaScript is deeply connected to the internet economy, while Python is strongly connected to automation, AI, research, and data. Let us talk about freelancing because many beginners want to earn money quickly. JavaScript can help freelancers build websites, landing pages, e-commerce stores, and web applications for clients. There is huge demand for these services online. Python freelancing often involves automation scripts, web scraping, data processing, bots, and backend systems. If your goal is fast freelance opportunities, JavaScript web development may give you more beginner-friendly market opportunities because small businesses constantly need websites. However, advanced Python specialists in AI or automation can charge extremely high rates because their skills are rare and valuable. Another major comparison is learning resources. Both languages have millions of tutorials, but the style of teaching differs slightly. Python tutorials often focus on education, logic building, automation, and problem solving. JavaScript tutorials often focus on building websites, apps, and interactive user experiences. Depending on your personality, one style may feel more exciting than the other. If you love visuals and design, JavaScript projects may keep you more motivated. If you enjoy solving logical problems and creating smart systems, Python may feel more satisfying. Let us also discuss scalability. Large companies use both languages successfully. Netflix uses JavaScript heavily. Instagram uses Python heavily. Google uses both. This should teach you something important. The language itself is rarely the main limitation. Skilled developers can build amazing systems with both technologies. Beginners sometimes waste months arguing online about which language is superior instead of actually building projects. The best language is often the one that keeps you motivated enough to continue learning consistently. Here is another important point. Python usually feels more beginner-friendly because it hides complexity. JavaScript exposes you to more web concepts earlier. This means JavaScript can feel overwhelming in the beginning because web development includes HTML, CSS, browsers, APIs, responsiveness, and many moving parts. Python allows you to focus more directly on programming logic itself. That is why many computer science teachers introduce programming using Python first. But JavaScript gives faster access to visible projects that you can show online, which can be highly motivating. Imagine building your own portfolio website within weeks. That excitement keeps many learners moving forward. So when choosing your first language, you should think about what excites you most. Motivation matters more than perfection. If you enjoy what you are building, you will practice more consistently, and consistency is what creates skill. Now we reach one of the biggest questions beginners ask before starting programming. Which language is easier to learn? Many people feel nervous before writing their first line of code. They imagine programming as something extremely difficult that only genius people can understand. But the truth is very different. Programming is a skill, just like learning a new language, playing a sport, or learning music. The challenge is not intelligence. The challenge is consistency, patience, and choosing the right learning path. In this part, we will compare Python and JavaScript in terms of learning difficulty, syntax, beginner mistakes, coding style, debugging, and long-term understanding so you can clearly see how each language feels during the learning process. Let us begin with the first impression beginners usually get when they see code for the first time. Python often surprises people because it looks clean and readable. Many Python programs almost feel like reading English instructions. Here is a simple Python example. Name equals Ollie print hello name. Even if you never coded before, you can almost guess what this program does. It stores a name and prints a greeting. This simplicity is one reason Python became so popular in education. Teachers can focus on programming concepts instead of spending too much time explaining symbols and formatting rules. Now compare that to JavaScript. A similar JavaScript example looks like this. Let name equals Ollie. Console.log hello name. This is still understandable, but beginners immediately notice extra things like semicolons, dots, parentheses, and keywords like let. These details are not impossible to learn, but they create slightly more mental pressure at the beginning. This is why many people say Python has a smoother starting experience. Another important difference is indentation. Python uses indentation to organize code blocks. Indentation means spaces at the beginning of lines. For example, if you write a loop or condition in Python, the spaces matter. This forces beginners to write clean and organized code from the start. In JavaScript, code blocks are usually controlled using curly brackets. Some beginners prefer brackets because they are visually clear, while others prefer Python because it looks cleaner. Here is the interesting thing. Python's strict formatting helps beginners develop good habits early, but can also confuse people when indentation mistakes happen. JavaScript gives more flexibility, but sometimes too much flexibility creates messy code if beginners are not careful. Now let's talk about beginner frustration because this is very important. Many people quit programming during the first few weeks because of errors. Errors are messages the computer shows when something is wrong in your code. Python usually produces simpler and more readable error messages compared to many other languages. This helps beginners understand what went wrong. JavaScript errors can sometimes feel confusing, especially when working with browsers and web-related features. For example, JavaScript has concepts like asynchronous behavior that beginners may not understand immediately. Imagine ordering food at a restaurant. In normal synchronous behavior, you place an order and wait until the food arrives before doing anything else. In asynchronous behavior, you place the order, continue doing other activities, and later the food arrives. JavaScript uses asynchronous programming heavily because websites must handle many tasks at the same time without freezing the page. This is powerful, but can confuse beginners because the program flow becomes less straightforward. Python can also do asynchronous programming, but beginners often avoid it until later. Another important comparison is readability over time. When beginners return to old Python code after weeks, they usually understand it more easily because the syntax stays clean and straightforward. JavaScript code can become more complex because web development often involves many interacting parts like HTML, CSS, APIs, event listeners, frameworks, and user interactions. This does not mean JavaScript is bad. It simply means the ecosystem is broader and sometimes more chaotic for beginners. Let us discuss typing systems because this is another area where beginners experience differences. Both Python and JavaScript are dynamically typed languages. This means you do not always need to declare exact data types manually. For beginners, This reduces complexity because you can focus on logic instead of strict type rules. However, JavaScript has some famous confusing behaviors because of automatic type conversion. For example, strange things can happen when mixing numbers and strings together. Beginners sometimes see unexpected outputs and become confused. Python is generally more predictable in these situations, which makes it feel safer for learning core programming ideas. Now, let us compare learning curves. A learning curve describes how quickly someone progresses over time. Python usually has a gentle beginning. Beginners often feel productive quickly because the syntax stays simple. You can write useful programs early without learning too many complicated rules. This creates confidence. JavaScript has a slightly steeper beginning because web development introduces more concepts at once. A beginner learning JavaScript often also learns HTML and CSS alongside it. This means there are more moving pieces. However, once you understand the basics, JavaScript becomes extremely rewarding because you can build highly interactive projects. Many learners feel excited when they create animations, dynamic websites, and real-time features directly in the browser. Let's talk about debugging. Debugging means finding and fixing mistakes in your code. Both Python and JavaScript have excellent debugging tools today. Python debuggers are often simpler because many Python programs focus on logical operations and scripts. JavaScript debugging inside browsers can sometimes feel more complicated because web pages involve many interacting components. But browsers also provide powerful developer tools that professionals use daily. Another important area is project complexity. Python beginners often start with small scripts, calculators, automation tools, simple games, or data projects. These projects are usually isolated and easier to manage mentally. JavaScript beginners often jump directly into web projects that involve multiple files, designs, buttons, layouts, and browser behavior. This creates excitement, but also increases complexity. Some beginners love this fast visual feedback, while others feel overwhelmed. Personality matters a lot here. If you enjoy visual creativity and experimentation, JavaScript may motivate you more despite the extra complexity. If you enjoy structured problem solving and step-by-step learning, Python may feel more comfortable. Let us discuss frameworks because frameworks strongly affect the learning journey. Python frameworks like Flask and Django are famous for simplicity and organization. Django especially follows a structured style that helps developers build large projects cleanly. JavaScript frameworks like React, Angular, and Vue are extremely powerful but can feel overwhelming at first because the JavaScript ecosystem changes very quickly. New tools, updates, and trends appear constantly. This creates a fast-moving environment. Some developers love this energy because innovation happens rapidly. Others prefer Python's calmer and more stable feeling. Another huge difference is community culture. Python communities often emphasize readability, education, and simplicity. JavaScript communities often emphasize innovation, performance, and modern web experiences. Neither is better. They simply attract slightly different types of developers. Let's imagine two students again. Student A wants to understand programming deeply without getting overwhelmed. They enjoy logical thinking and prefer calm, step-by-step progress. Python may suit them perfectly. Student B loves creativity, visual projects, websites, and seeing immediate interactive results. They may enjoy JavaScript more even if the beginning feels harder. One important truth beginners must understand is that every programming language becomes difficult at advanced levels. The beginner stage is only the start. Python feels easier initially, but advanced AI systems, machine learning models, and scalable backend architectures can become highly complex. JavaScript feels harder initially, but advanced front-end architecture, performance optimization, and large-scale web applications are also challenging. So the goal should not be finding a language with zero difficulty. The goal should be finding a language whose challenges feel interesting enough that you want to continue learning. Let's also talk about motivation, because motivation changes everything. Many people quit programming because they choose a path that does not excite them personally. Someone who dreams about AI but forces themselves to learn front-end web design may lose interest quickly. Someone who dreams about creating websites but starts only with data processing may also become bored. The best first language is often the one connected to projects you genuinely care about building. When projects feel meaningful, you naturally practice more, search for solutions more often, and improve faster. Another important point is learning speed versus industry readiness. Python allows beginners to understand coding concepts quickly, but JavaScript exposes learners earlier to real-world web technologies used by businesses daily. This means JavaScript learners sometimes struggle more at the beginning but gain direct exposure to industry tools sooner. Python learners often gain strong logical foundations quickly and later branch into specialized fields like AI, automation, or backend systems. Neither path is wrong. They simply prioritize different experiences. Finally, remember this important truth. Your first language is not your last language. Professional developers constantly learn new technologies throughout their careers. The first language mainly teaches your brain how programmers think. Once you understand logic, functions, loops, conditions, debugging, and problem solving, learning additional languages becomes much easier. The hardest step is usually the first one. Now, let us talk about something that almost every beginner secretly thinks about from the first day of learning programming: jobs, money, freelancing, and future opportunities. Passion is important, but most people also want practical results from the time and effort they invest in learning coding. They want to know if programming can lead to financial freedom, remote work, stable careers, or even building their own business. This is where the comparison between Python and JavaScript becomes very interesting because both languages open powerful career paths, but the opportunities are different in many ways. In this part, we will compare salaries, industry demand, freelancing opportunities, startup culture, remote work potential, future growth, and long-term career security, so you can understand which language may fit your career goals better. Let us begin with job demand, because this is one of the strongest factors when choosing a language. JavaScript is everywhere on the internet. Every company today needs websites, dashboards, online systems, customer portals, e-commerce platforms, or web applications. Because of this, JavaScript developers are constantly in demand. Small businesses need websites. Startups need web apps. Large corporations need interactive platforms. Social media companies rely heavily on JavaScript frameworks. This massive demand creates huge opportunities for front-end developers, back-end developers using Node.js, and full-stack developers who handle both sides of applications. Many job listings around the world specifically mention JavaScript, React, Node.js, or related technologies. This means JavaScript learners often see a very direct path into the web industry. Now, let us compare Python. Python jobs are growing rapidly, especially because artificial intelligence and automation are expanding globally. Companies today collect enormous amounts of data and need people who can analyze it, automate tasks, and build intelligent systems. Python became one of the most important languages in these areas. Machine learning engineers, data analysts, AI developers, cybersecurity specialists, and automation engineers frequently use Python. Many businesses also use Python for back-end systems and cloud services. This means Python opportunities are not limited to one field. The language is spread across science, finance, healthcare, cybersecurity, education, research, and automation industries. So when people ask, which language has more jobs? The answer depends on the field. JavaScript dominates web-related jobs. Python dominates many AI, data, and automation-related jobs. Both have strong demand, but the nature of the work is different. Let us discuss salaries because many beginners believe one language automatically guarantees higher income. In reality, salaries depend more on skill level, experience, project quality, communication skills, and specialization than the language itself. A highly skilled JavaScript developer can earn extremely high salaries, especially if they understand modern front-end frameworks, back-end architecture, databases, and scalable systems. Full-stack JavaScript developers are highly valuable because they can work across entire applications. Python developers can also earn excellent salaries, especially in AI and machine learning roles where specialized skills are highly valued. In many regions, experienced AI engineers and data scientists earn some of the highest salaries in the tech industry. But there is something beginners must understand clearly. Advanced high-paying Python jobs often require stronger mathematics, statistics, and analytical thinking compared to basic web development roles. This does not mean Python is harder overall. It simply means some Python career paths involve more technical depth beyond coding itself. JavaScript web development usually focuses more on application architecture, user experience, and system interaction. Let us now talk about freelancing because many people want to earn money online as quickly as possible. JavaScript offers huge freelancing opportunities because websites are always needed. Small businesses constantly want landing pages, online stores, booking systems, dashboards, and portfolio websites. A beginner who learns HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and a framework like React can eventually start offering freelance services. This creates a relatively direct path toward earning online income. Many freelance marketplaces contain large numbers of web development projects. Python freelancing is different. Python freelancers often work on automation tools, web scraping, bots, APIs, backend systems, and data processing tasks. These projects can pay very well because they solve business problems efficiently. For example, a Python script that saves a company hundreds of hours of manual work can be extremely valuable. However, beginner-friendly freelance opportunities are usually easier to find in web development because websites are visible and easy for clients to understand. Another important difference is project presentation. JavaScript developers can easily showcase visual projects in portfolios. They can send clients live websites and interactive demos. This visual impact helps attract attention quickly. Python projects are sometimes less visually impressive because many operate behind the scenes. For example, an automation script may save huge amounts of time but does not look exciting visually. This means Python developers often need stronger explanations and demonstrations of practical value. Now let us discuss remote work because this is one of the biggest reasons people enter tech today. Both Python and JavaScript are excellent for remote careers. Software development is one of the most remote-friendly industries in the world. Companies increasingly hire developers from different countries because coding work can often be done online. JavaScript developers frequently work remotely for startups, agencies, and international companies. Python developers also enjoy strong remote opportunities, especially in automation, back-end development, cloud engineering, and AI-related work. Many remote companies care more about skills and portfolios than formal degrees. This creates opportunities for self-taught learners who consistently practice and build projects. Let us move to startup culture because programming languages strongly influence startup development. JavaScript became deeply connected to startups because web applications are often the fastest way to launch online businesses. Startups need websites, user dashboards, online services, and scalable platforms quickly. JavaScript frameworks make this possible. React, Next.js, Node.js, and similar technologies dominate startup ecosystems because they allow rapid product development. Python is also important in startups, especially those involving AI, analytics, automation, or scientific products. Many AI startups rely heavily on Python because of its machine learning ecosystem. So if your dream is building the next social platform, online marketplace, or SaaS product, JavaScript may feel closer to your path. If your dream is building intelligent systems, automation tools, or AI-driven products, Python may feel more aligned. Another major topic is future growth. Beginners often worry about whether a language will stay relevant. The good news is that both Python and JavaScript have extremely strong futures. JavaScript remains essential because the web continues growing every year. Businesses cannot simply abandon web technologies. As long as websites and web applications exist, JavaScript will remain important. Python's future is also incredibly strong because AI, machine learning, automation, and data science are expanding rapidly across industries. In fact, Python became one of the symbols of the AI revolution. This means both languages are likely to remain valuable for many years. However, the type of innovation happening around them differs. JavaScript evolves rapidly because web technologies move fast. New frameworks, tools, and development styles appear frequently. This creates exciting innovation, but also means developers must continuously update their knowledge. Python changes more slowly and often feels more stable, especially for beginners. Let's discuss competition because this matters in the job market. JavaScript has enormous popularity, which means there are many opportunities but also many learners competing for those roles. Python also has huge popularity, especially among students entering AI and data science. In both fields, standing out requires real projects, practical skills, and consistency. Watching tutorials alone is never enough. Companies want people who can solve problems. Another important factor is portfolio building. JavaScript developers can create visually impressive portfolios relatively early because websites are naturally public and interactive. This can help beginners demonstrate skills quickly. Python portfolios often involve automation systems, AI models, data analysis, APIs, or backend logic. These projects may require stronger explanations, but can become extremely valuable in technical industries. Let us also compare entrepreneurship opportunities. JavaScript developers often build SaaS businesses, e-commerce platforms, browser tools, and online services. Python developers often create automation products, AI systems, bots, analytics tools, and backend services. Both languages can help entrepreneurs build successful businesses. The key difference is usually the type of product being created. Now here is a very important truth many beginners ignore. Your success depends less on the language and more on your consistency. Some people spend years arguing online about which language is superior, but never build real projects. Meanwhile, another person quietly learns one language deeply, builds useful applications, improves communication skills, and gets hired. The programming language is only the tool. Your discipline, curiosity, and project experience create the real difference. A motivated Python developer will outperform a lazy JavaScript developer. A focused JavaScript developer will outperform a distracted Python learner. Consistency beats endless comparison. Another major reality is that many professional developers eventually learn both languages anyway. A developer may use JavaScript for front-end interfaces and Python for back-end processing or automation. Modern technology careers often involve multiple tools working together. Your first language simply shapes your starting direction. Finally, let's discuss career flexibility. Python gives strong flexibility across AI, automation, data science, cybersecurity, back-end development, and scripting. JavaScript gives strong flexibility across front-end, back-end, mobile apps, web applications, and interactive user experiences. Both languages create powerful opportunities. The better choice depends on which type of work sounds exciting enough that you can imagine practicing for hundreds or even thousands of hours. Because mastery in programming does not come from watching videos alone. It comes from building, failing, debugging, improving, and continuing even when things become difficult. We have compared Python and JavaScript from almost every important angle. We talked about beginner friendliness, syntax, difficulty, projects, careers, freelancing, salaries, AI, web development, remote jobs, and future growth. Now we finally arrive at the biggest question of all. Which language should you actually learn first? This is the moment where many beginners expect a simple answer like Python is better or JavaScript is better. But the real answer is smarter and more useful than that. The best first language depends on your goals, your personality, your motivation, and the kind of projects that excite you enough to keep learning consistently. So instead of giving one answer for everyone, let us break this down carefully and honestly. Let's begin with the simplest situation. If you're a complete beginner with zero programming experience and you mainly want the easiest and smoothest introduction to coding, Python is usually the better first language. Python removes many beginner frustrations. The syntax is clean. The code is readable. You can focus on learning programming logic instead of worrying too much about complicated rules and symbols. This is why many schools, universities, and coding boot camps introduce programming with Python. Beginners can start writing useful programs quickly, which builds confidence and motivation. Python is especially good for people who enjoy logical thinking, automation, problem solving, and step-by-step learning. If you like the idea of creating smart systems, automating tasks, analyzing data, or entering the world of artificial intelligence, Python gives you a very strong foundation. Now let us look at another type of beginner. Suppose you're excited by websites, apps, visual design, interactive experiences, animations, and creating things people can immediately use online. In that case, JavaScript may actually be the better first language for you. JavaScript connects directly to the web. You can build visible projects that run in browsers and share them with friends, clients, or employers. This visual feedback is extremely motivating for many learners. Some people become bored by text-based programs and automation scripts, but they become excited when they see a real web page reacting to clicks and user actions. Motivation matters more than people realize. If JavaScript projects make you excited to practice every day, then JavaScript becomes the smarter choice, even if the learning curve feels slightly harder at the beginning. Let us now compare based on career goals because this can make the decision much easier. If your dream is to become a web developer, front-end developer, full-stack developer, UI engineer, or someone who builds online platforms, JavaScript should probably be your first language. Modern web development depends heavily on JavaScript. Frameworks like React, Vue, Angular, and Node.js dominate the web industry. Companies constantly hire developers who understand these technologies. Learning JavaScript early gives you direct access to this world. On the other hand, if your dream is to enter artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science, cybersecurity automation, scripting, or scientific computing, Python is usually the stronger first step. Most AI tutorials, machine learning libraries, and automation systems are built around Python. The language became deeply connected to the future of intelligent technology. Let's also think about learning style. Some people learn best when things feel organized and calm. They prefer understanding one concept at a time. They become frustrated if too many technologies appear at once. Python is often better for these learners because it allows a cleaner focus on core programming concepts. Other people learn best through creativity and experimentation. They enjoy clicking buttons, changing designs, and instantly seeing results on screens. JavaScript may feel more exciting for these learners because web development creates highly visual experiences. Another important question is this: do you want fast visual results or deep programming foundations first? JavaScript often gives faster visual rewards because websites are interactive. Python often gives stronger focus on programming fundamentals and logical thinking. Neither approach is wrong. They simply create different beginner experiences. Let us discuss something very important that beginners often misunderstand. Your first language does not decide your entire future forever. Many people act as if choosing the wrong language will destroy their career. That is completely false. Programming languages are tools. Once you learn how programming works, learning another language becomes far easier. The first language is usually the hardest because your brain is learning completely new ways of thinking. After that, switching languages becomes much faster. A Python learner can later learn JavaScript. A JavaScript learner can later learn Python. Professional developers constantly learn new tools throughout their careers. So instead of feeling trapped by the decision, focus on choosing the language that will keep you learning consistently right now. Let's imagine several different beginners and see what might work best for each one. Beginner number 1 says, I want the easiest path into coding. I enjoy logic and want to understand programming properly before building complicated apps. Python is probably the perfect choice for this person. Beginner number 2 says, I dream about creating websites, online businesses, apps, and beautiful user interfaces. JavaScript is probably the better path for them. Beginner number 3 says, I want to work in AI and machine learning because that seems like the future. Python becomes a stronger choice because the AI ecosystem heavily depends on it. Beginner number 4 says, I want to freelance and build websites for clients as soon as possible. JavaScript may offer faster opportunities because businesses constantly need websites and web applications. Beginner number 5 says, I honestly do not know what I want yet. I just want to start coding without feeling overwhelmed. In this situation, Python is often the safest starting point because it builds confidence gently. Let's now address one of the biggest myths online. Some people claim Python is only for beginners and not for serious development. That is completely wrong. Python powers major companies, AI systems, cloud platforms, automation tools, and scientific research worldwide. Other people claim JavaScript is messy and should be avoided. That is also wrong. JavaScript powers the modern internet and allows developers to create incredibly powerful applications. Both languages are professional, respected, and valuable. The internet sometimes creates unnecessary battles between programming communities, but real developers usually care more about solving problems than arguing about languages. Another important topic is long-term growth. Python may feel easier initially, but advanced AI and data systems can become mathematically and technically challenging. JavaScript may feel harder initially, but advanced front-end architecture and scalable web systems are also highly complex. Every serious programming path eventually becomes challenging. The difference is whether you enjoy the type of challenges involved. Let us also discuss the emotional side of learning programming because this matters more than many people admit. Beginners often compare themselves to advanced developers online and feel discouraged. They think everyone else learns faster. They think they are too late. They think they are not smart enough. But every developer you admire today once struggled with basic loops, variables, and syntax errors. Programming is not about being naturally gifted. It is about staying consistent long enough for your brain to adapt. The people who succeed are usually not the smartest people in the room. They are the people who continue practicing even when things feel confusing. This is why choosing a language connected to your interests matters so much. Interest creates consistency, and consistency creates skill. Here is another practical recommendation. If you're still completely undecided, start with Python for 2 or 3 months. Learn variables, loops, functions, conditions, lists, dictionaries, and simple projects. Build confidence in programming logic first. Then try JavaScript and web development later. Many people find this transition easier because they already understand how coding works conceptually. Another possible path is starting with HTML and CSS first, then moving into JavaScript if web development excites you strongly. There's no single perfect roadmap for everyone. The perfect roadmap is the one you can follow consistently without quitting. Let us now answer the question directly and simply. Learn Python first if you want easier learning, automation, AI, data science, scripting, cybersecurity, or a smooth beginner experience. Learn JavaScript first if you want web development, interactive websites, online businesses, front-end design, full-stack development, or visually exciting projects. But remember this carefully. The language itself will not create success automatically. Watching tutorials alone will not create success either. Real growth happens when you build projects, make mistakes, debug problems, search for answers, and continue improving step by step. The developers who succeed are not the ones who endlessly search for the perfect language. They're the ones who start, stay consistent, and keep building. So instead of asking forever whether Python or JavaScript is better, choose one, commit to learning it seriously, and begin creating real projects. Because the hardest part of programming is not choosing the language. The hardest part is taking the first step and continuing when things become difficult. Once you do that, you're already ahead of most people who never begin at all.